Hey everybody, I want to die.
I'm high as fuck.
Are you? Are you? Are you though?
I might.
Are you? Can I buy a bag?
I'll call my dealer.
You just witnessed a drug deal happen. Welcome to a movie review. We haven't I don't know if there's an actual title for this or not. I just saw the movie. Um Doctor Strange, directed by some guy, and yeah, so we're going to review that. Uh quick little announcement. This little guy, if you don't know, this is Rowlet. Um, he is objectively the best starter. I'm gonna do a quick little review if the directors don't mind. Uh, if you don't pick Rowlet as your starter, this is a public service announcement. If you do not pick Rowlet as your starter for the new Pokemon game, you are objectively wrong, and your genes will not be carried over into the next evolution of mankind.
Good to know. Anyway, yeah, we just got back from seeing Doctor Strange, and personally, I had a great time with it. Uh, the one, the single one issue I had with it was the combat scenes. Well, just more one in particular in New York. Uh, went the camera angles went all over the place and it was hard to keep track of things.
I kind of agree, and most of the action scenes, as we were watching the movie, they were more really chasing scenes. There was there was a lot less combat than a regular Marvel movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but and I guess because Doctor Strange isn't necessarily ripped up like everyone else, so he just didn't do much other than run away and do magic stuff.
Well, to be fair, he just got in. Well, no. How much time do you think span between the two?
How much time?
Yeah, like they went like fast forward as he learned a bunch of magic. Anyway,
Oh, that's a good
to
point.
be fair, there was actually more like combat than I was expecting. To be honest, because I expected to be more long ranged spells, but they went like melee magic instead. Like magical weapons, spell circles around your fists, punching people, all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah, but the, it wasn't like weird. It was cool, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I still had it. It was still really enjoyable to watch, though.
It was most certainly not a bad movie at all.
Definitely
I I think the best part about the movie, or the best aspect, were the special effects, or just the CGI in general. Coming from a design standpoint,
not. Yeah.
um they were really interesting and really intricate looking, at least to watch. I don't know how it might have been an easy parlor trick or whatever. When I'm not I'm not completely sure how they were able to pull off the stuff that they did, but it certainly made the movie 10 times more epic.
Yeah, I don't think the effects themselves were too hard, but the scale at which they did them with so many objects in a large background, so many things moving, that would be the difficult part. That and keeping the magic circles and the effects uh, stuck to these rapidly moving objects, like the weapons and the spell circles around their hands. Um, moving on to the actual magic itself, a lot of the spells and stuff were really interesting. Um, yeah, they had time magic, magical weapons, flying. all kinds of insane stuff that really kept you entertained and mystified.
Um, when it came to the different types of magic, I mean, it might have been. In my personal opinion, it would have been better to see more types, but I can also understand with the it, with the types that they showed us, that was completely fine. But I would have liked to see a little bit more, um, because it seemed like the only especially with the bad guy, the only magic the bad guy used was this was a in was like what was it like a
I
translucent sword or
Yeah, he was
like
basically bending
yeah
the
he
air into a weapon.
yeah. And so he bent the air into a weapon, like you said, and he
Like
also
bending space.
and also bending reality, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how in the previews how New York got all fucked up, and which by the way was a fantastic scene,
Yeah.
really great. It everything just fell apart so quickly, but it was so perfectly timed, and the pacing was excellent.
Should we move on to how Cumberbatch did? Uh, yeah, I think he did an excellent role as the Doctor and as the magician, the sorcerer later on. He adapted. He did the transition very well between arrogant doctor who likes to save lives but only likes to do the interesting cases to someone who's more humble but also insanely curious and fascinated by the mystics.
I think Benadryl Cumbersome was huh? Oh, sorry, Benadryl Cabbage Patch.
Oh,
Um,
I see.
so he I like to throw in some memes there for the kids. Anyway,
Got a meme right here.
he's not a meme, okay, guys. He's not. He's a legitimate starter, and if you don't pick him, I will come to your house. And I will kill you. Anyway, um, yeah, I agree with you. He played a great doctor. They definitely made a great decision on that. I wasn't completely um sure if they made a correct decision or not with casting him. It's obviously hard to tell without seeing the movie. But I mean, he's a great actor. He's a great actor. There's no doubt about that. And just about everything I've seen him in, I can't think of a role where I didn't enjoy him. So, yeah.
Um, okay, moving on to some of the other characters. I think the ancient one started off a really interesting character, but I kind of got bored with her performance later on because it started getting more and more cliche. It started off like the good kind, like a cliche, but not one that's used all the time, but a less used cliche. And it developed into a much more stereotypical ancient monk kind of thing. Though she did have a very good scene. One of her last few scenes was very touching with the doctor.
It seemed like through most of the movie, she had the same facial expression. Um, so not quite. It might have been part of like who she was because she was an ancient one. So she maybe emotions just don't phase her. But um, overall, she was pretty alright. I when it comes to whoever stole the show, so to speak, it's I'd say it's probably Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Gooberbatch.
And taking the number two spot is everybody's favorite Wong.
Oh yes, yes,
Wong the librarian.
Wong the library.
Can we help you? Cape is number 3. Yeah, they gave his cape a personality, which I found very amusing and led to lots of good humor scenes. Like it drags him around sometimes, and it beats up people.
Yeah, the cape. The cape kicked ass. The cape was honestly. I take that back. The cape stole the show. The cape really stole the show. I um. I I really enjoyed the cape segments. I honestly wish there were more. But um yeah, the cape was you can't have Doctor Strange without the cape of levitation. So and I'm very glad they sort of added a an almost cartoony like um personality to it. It really added to my entertainment at least.
Okay, I guess the next person to go to is Mordo. Yeah. Uh, as most people who read or know anything about Doctor Strange know, Mordo is a villain, but he doesn't start out as one in this movie. He becomes one at the very end at a after credit scene. Uh, but he was a very staunch companion of Doctor Strange in the beginning. He was very loyal to the Ancient One, but as the Strange and the Ancient One started bending rules, he became more and more doubtful, and the transition to him becoming a villain was definitely done well. I think not like the best it could have, but it definitely uh, went very well.
I certainly like the character of Mordo. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't completely satisfied with the performance. Um, and he's I feel really bad because I don't even know I can't even pronounce the actor's name. I used to be able to, but it's somewhere. Um, but um, I wasn't completely convinced with his depiction of Mordo. Yeah, but that didn't really take away too much from the overall experience or from the character at all. So yeah,
And lastly, we'll do the main villain, the basically Doctor Strange is right before Mordo. Mordo is more like his rival. He sometimes cooperates with him in the comics. But the main villain is Dormammu, and his depiction in this movie caught me completely off guard. Partly because I might be used to the Marvel vs. Capcom version, but that's actually his normal form, at least when he's uh, being depicted as a humanoid. Uh, Normally, he's like a 9 foot tall guy with a flaming skull, like Ghost Rider kind of thing, and he does a lot of fire magic and portals to the dark dimension, which is his home that he's trying to expand to include the Earth, which is pretty much the plot or his evil plan, bought
yeah.
out by his minions.
Dormammu, he was a low point in the movie. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. He was pretty much Cloud Galactus. It wasn't I wasn't very thrilled with how he was depicted. He was basically a big Thanos looking cloud. It looked really uninspired and yeah. I mean that's really all there is to that.
Yeah, his I didn't like his depiction. I felt the acting was decent, especially the scenes involving him. I think Cumberbatch did like stole those scenes completely. I mean, one of the scenes is already a meme. Uh,
Speaking of,
yeah, but I felt like the Dark Dimension itself was way better animated than Dormammu.
very true.
Yeah, the Dark Dimension looked crazy and multicolored, but well, mainly dark colors. But there was like rainbows within the darkness. It was insane and crazy, and it was awesome.
Speaking of the meme, um, a a good way to it. I don't want to give away too much about the movie. It is also, but I'd say this movie is probably one of the best examples of how a hero defeats like an all-powerful villain through wit and through guile, or just outsmarting the villain. And I thought that was very Doctor Strange like. So I mean, yeah, that's that was the whole. That was my whole big opinion.
Yeah, yeah. The whole thing with Doctor Strange is the limits of his magic are only the limits of his imagination. Because magic in the Marvel universe is like fathomless potential, especially when you're the Sorcerer Supreme, like he is, and you have access to the stuff like the Eye of Agamotto and stuff like that. But yeah, who else is gonna? Rowlet is Sorcerer Supreme now. Can you turn back time a little before we started talking with the directors?
With these dapper looks.
Oh, his bow ties are actually the hands of a clock. He just turns them backwards.
Right. That's exact. I would display for you guys now, but it's way too. He doesn't like me touching him too much. He's his own person, you know. He's his own person, guys. So show him a little respect. Choose him as your starter, and everything will be fine. You know, you won't fuck up time, right? And everything's fine in the Rowlet universe.
Okay, but we're here to talk about the Marvel universe.
Rowlet encompasses all universes. That's the
It's omnipresent.
it's omnipresent. You guys see that?
Yeah.
He almost fucked up.
My favorite scene would probably definitely be the final battle, which has heavy time magic, and it just looks spectacular seeing everything moving the way it does. I don't want to spoil any more than that. But yeah, the the way they choreographed it was incredible.
I completely agree. I also am really fond of the big New York chase action fight slash scene, where everything really started to just get out of control, um, and yet also you never really see it. It's just funny because you know that the the civilians or whatever don't know this is happening, so they are completely unaware of what's happening around them, and so yeah.
If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it 9 marbles out of a Rowlet.
My rating, which you should take a little bit more seriously, okay? Okay. My rating is a Mallard Duck out of Howard the Duck. Thank you.
Anything you want to say about that? That looks like a penis.
He's not wrong. He is not wrong.
Just looks like one.
Oh. Oh.